Hello there, I'm Manila Chan. You're watching In Question, broadcasting live from RT America National Headquarters in Washington, D.C. Here are the stories we're working on for you today. First, we will break down a major deal that's bringing the defense industry into the future and at the same time creating tension between two of the world's biggest tech companies. Plus, for the first time ever, there are now more wealthy Chinese than Americans in the world. In just a few minutes, we're going to ask our guest how this nation that prides itself on capitalism just lost that coveted position. And then to California, a state of emergency has been issued in Los Angeles as massive flames fueled by powerful Santa Ana winds have forced thousands to evacuate. We are live on the ground with an update for you. All right, it's time to boost your news IQ. Okay, first, we're going to begin with breaking news from the Pentagon, where just a few moments ago, the Secretary of Defense and top military officials shared more information into the weekend raid that killed ISIS leader Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi. During that press conference, Mark Esper reaffirmed much of the details President Trump shared with the nation on Sunday. But he also said the security situation in Syria remains complex and reminded the world of America's military might.
Baghdadi's death will not rid the world of terrorism or end the ongoing conflict in Syria. But it will certainly send a message to those who would question America's resolve and provide a warning to terrorists who think they can hide. The United States, more than any other nation in the world, possesses the power and the will to hunt to the ends of the earth those who wish to bring harm upon the American people.
Esper, along with the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Mark Milley, also confirmed that a video of al-Baghdadi's final moments do exist, but he said once they've been vetted and declassified, some of those images may be released to the public. And speaking of the Pentagon, they have just announced that they're giving $10 billion to Microsoft for a big cloud computing contract, and it's left out another major company kind of stunned. RT's Faran Fronczak has the details.
Alexa, did you get the $10 billion Pentagon contract? Her answer will be no. Amazon is feeling a bit surprised today, seeing that they're becoming a major global tech giant across the board. Microsoft is the company that the Pentagon decided to go with. Now, bidding for the cloud computing contract known as Joint Enterprise Defense Infrastructure, or JEDI, pitted Microsoft, Amazon, Oracle, and IBM all against each other. Now, the contract attracted more attention than most because early in the process, there was actually major speculation Amazon would hands down win this deal. That's why Oracle and IBM, they pushed back with their own bids, challenging the bidding process, which even led to Oracle filing a lawsuit against the process in federal court, but they lost that case. Now, the Pentagon's JEDI system is going to store and process vast amounts of classified data, letting the U.S. military use artificial intelligence to speed up its war planning and fighting capabilities. Now, the Pentagon emphasized that their bidding process, it was fair, adding that over the past 2 years, it's awarded more than $11 billion and 10 separate cloud computing contracts. Now, the Pentagon's JEDI system, it's going to store and process vast amounts of classified data, letting the U.S. military and artificial intelligence, again, speed up its war planning and fighting capabilities. Now, when it comes to this bid, an Amazon spokesman said that the company is the clear leader in cloud computing, and they're going to remain deeply committed to continuing to innovate for the new digital battlefield where security and efficiency can be the difference between success and failure. Now, in a July report, Amazon holds almost 50% of the market for cloud computing, whereas Microsoft, they're at a whopping 16%. But this new contract between the Pentagon and Microsoft, it's going to boost the company's cloud business Azure neck and neck now with Amazon. Now, despite pushback from Microsoft employees, the company has continued to make itself a friend to the U.S. military, having long supplied other technology to the U.S. military here and abroad. Now, it's also important to note that throughout this whole bidding process, Defense Secretary Mark Esper, he recused himself, citing a conflict of interest because his son actually works for one of the companies that originally was in this bid. In Washington, Faran Fronczak, RT.
And now on to something you might have missed. For the first time ever, China now has more wealthy people than the United States. So how did that happen? And what does it mean for the trade war and the global order? For that, let's turn to Richard Wolff. He's a professor of economics at UMass Amherst and author of this book here, Capitalism's Crisis Deepens. Professor Wolff, thank you for being with us. So let's start with Credit Suisse's global report or wealth report for 2019. They looked at the richest 10% of the world. These are people, that hold 82% of global wealth. So to be clear, wealth here means having more than $109,000 in assets. And for the first time, more of these rich people are in China. 100 million in China, 99 million in the U.S. What happened?
Well, this is just another milestone in the extraordinary achievement of the People's Republic of China in economics. There's no way around that. For the last 40 years, the average annual growth of the Chinese economy has been in the neighborhood of 9–10%, whereas the United States, it's been in the area of 2 to 3%. No matter how you slice it, cut it, or denounce it, this is a situation in which China is catching up to, and probably within a decade will surpass, the United States in terms of the size of its economy. To be fair, let's remember the Chinese population is 4 times larger than the American population, so it doesn't quite work out on a per capita basis. But whatever you say, the Chinese economy is the success story of the last 30 to 40 years. And this latest statistics, that there are more rich people in China than there are in the United States, simply puts the final detail into place to make that story known to the world.
But Professor, do you think this is by any chance maybe just a fluke for this year? Because, I mean, how do you reconcile, number one, they have so many people, and then obviously they have more wealthy people now, but they also have state ownership of the country's resources. Does that come into play?
Absolutely. The Chinese decided roughly 25, 30 years ago, if not a bit earlier, that they were going to do a new kind of socialism, a socialism in which the state runs what's going on, regulates, controls, all the rest of it. The state, in turn, controlled by the Chinese Communist Party, but they were going to invite and allow private capitalist enterprise, both foreign, such as American, Japanese, European, and domestic Chinese. They were going to have a special kind of mixed system with the state and the socialism on top. That was their plan, and they've been faithful to that plan for the last 25 years for no surprising reason, namely, it gets them richer and more developed than anybody else on this planet, so they're not going to give that up. And the trade war with the United States just goes to show you is not slowing down in anything like the way some would like to believe. The achievement of the Chinese, indeed this year their growth is 6%, low for them, but ours is 2.5%. So you again see the gap is disappearing, which is what these numbers show.
But Professor, given that their growth rate, like you said, is at 6%, I mean, clearly 3 times higher than ours, do you think that is setting them up for volatility, or do you think, ours is slow and steady and we'll win the race at the end?
Well, you never know. I'm no good at predicting the future, and I'm no better than anybody else at it. But let me give a parallel. Once upon a time, there was a mighty Great Britain, and they had a little colony called the United States. And then there was a separation, and the United States became independent. And then the United States, the British said, was stealing all the British property and all the British technology. Some of that was true, but it didn't really matter. Within a century, the colony had outgrown the parent country, and the rest is a history we all know. The problem with the world today is that the Chinese are playing the role with the United States that the United States once played with England. And that's the key historical change.
Okay, last question for you here. How do you think the disparity of the rich people in China versus here, how do you think China's relationship is affected, with this trade war that we're having with them right now?
Well, I think you're putting your finger on a very important thing. China made a decision that they're going to allow private capitalism, foreign and domestic, and that's a system that generates millionaires. It is generating a very unequal division of wealth. And this is a difficulty here in the United States, as you know, but in a country that professes socialism, that's an even more dangerous disconnect. And I think it'll be crucial to China's future how and whether they handle that disparity better than has been done in other countries in the past.
Yeah, this is a fascinating turn of events in the new millennium, and we will continue to follow. Richard Wolff, thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us, Professor.
My pleasure. Thank you.
More unrest on the streets of Hong Kong. All this happening Sunday when police tried to disperse what they called unauthorized rally. Ironically, these demonstrators had gathered to protest ongoing police violence. Then today, a news conference by police was disrupted as one journalist alleged mistreatment from them.
Besides that, Hong Kong police use strong lights to point at us and our cameras, just like this. I'm sure all our fellow journalists had this experience. Today, journalists have become the victims of police brutality. Press freedom is threatened. We hope to use our action to boycott this police presser and protest about it.
Tensions are especially high between police and media right now after authorities detained one photojournalist overnight. And meantime, tens of thousands took to the streets over the weekend again in Barcelona, Spain, to protest the separatist movement in the Catalan region of that country. Police say a total of about 80,000 people took part carrying Spanish and Catalan flags. The rally in favor of Spanish unity comes after several days of violent protests by Catalan separatists that saw nearly 300 people injured. And Chilean President Sebastián Piñera is looking to shake up his government following ongoing protests there. Over the weekend, Piñera asked all of his cabinet members to offer their resignation. He also promised immediate emergency measures. Piñera said he heard the message from the protests that were triggered by a small subway fare hike in the country. Already, he's taken measures to raise the minimum wage, pension as well, and scrap the proposed fare hike. All right, still to come, we are headed to Los Angeles for a live look on the firefight happening there on the ground. Then we'll get a recap from Team News Views Hughes at Politicon over the weekend. And over in sports, don't miss some wild mountain biking images. Crazy, breathtaking. We'll be right back.
Russian Airlines.
Dear viewer, thank you for finally changing the channel. I understand you're tired of networks that blur news with views. You're tired of commentary presented as fact and facts presented as commentary. They are not the same, no matter what the partisan hack want you to think. You know me. I'm famous for my views, and you'll get them, and the news, and me. Yours truly, Scotty Nell Hughes.
There's so much going on in the world, don't you think? When's the last time you had a real bird's eye view of things? Shouldn't the news be more than just hours of bickering? Give me 30 minutes, and I'll take you across the globe.
How do we amplify the voices speaking necessary truths in these strange times?
The corporate parasites in power today might think their control will continue forever.
Questioning, listening, learning.
To take on the brutal systems of privilege and power, eroding liberty and polluting our minds.
That strangles American politics.
Question more.
state of emergency has been declared in California as more wildfires are igniting throughout the state. And while fire crews are gaining ground in some areas today, Mother Nature is not taking a break. Powerful Santa Ana winds are impacting yet another fire in the Los Angeles area, right near the world-famous Getty Center. RT correspondent Natasha Sweatte is live on the ground for us. Natasha, what's it looking like out there?
Well, yeah, these high winds are fanning this blaze right off the 405 freeway near the Getty Center, and fire officials are working to contain these flames that are near all of this dry brush. Now, fire officials say that the Getty fire has burned at least 500 acres and has destroyed at least 5 homes over the course of only a few hours. Well, this blaze broke out early this morning just after 1 a.m., and now with thousands of other homes in danger, massive evacuations are in place. Well, check out these dramatic images. You can see just how close it is to the busy 405 freeway. And nearly 200,000 people have been ordered to evacuate from their Northern California homes, including jail inmates and more than 100 hospital patients. Tens of thousands were told to leave in the middle of the night. Freeways became jammed as the panic soared among those residents, many of whom were victims of the deadly wildfires in 2017, which ended up taking 44 lives and destroying thousands of homes. Fire officials say the winds are continuing to spread the flames.
With that, firefighters made aggressive attacks on the fire, defending structures, as well as contending with downed trees and downed power lines. At the same time that the firefight was going on last night and continues today, we had the incident commanders at the command post throughout the entire night evaluating the need for additional evacuations throughout the area.
The Kincaid fire has burned 49 buildings, consuming 40 square miles of dry brush, and is at 10% containment. Power has been cut off to at least 1 million customers in the state. Authorities are concerned over wind gusts pushing down power lines and sparking fires in the region. And smoke from a second wildfire in the San Francisco Bay Area halted traffic. And back here in Los Angeles, before this Getty fire broke out, the tick fire destroyed at least 18 structures. And we're told that these winds aren't expected to die down until later this afternoon. Manila.
All right, Natasha Sweatte, stay safe out there for us. Thank you. All right, as we approach another election year and ramp up media coverage and campaign issues, there is one common thread among Americans today, and that is political fatigue. So what do American voters want to hear now? RT correspondent Sarah Montes de Oca was at Politicon over the weekend asking that very question.
We're only 1 year away from the 2020 presidential elections, and with so much controversy going on right here, divided along political lines, we're at Politicon 2019, where it aims to highlight some of the most controversial topics that we hear about over and over again, and they're not going anywhere.
The event this year was filled with comedians, political consultants, media, former governors, and even former FBI Director James Comey giving his take on the Bureau.
You have to ask, given this institution and its values, what's the right thing to do? And so even if I had known, someone had told me this is what the future is going to look like, I wouldn't have made decisions differently. That would have been a deeply unprincipled thing to do. And the FBI is flawed because it's a human organization, but it is at its core a principled organization, and it would have been a betrayal of that institution to do it differently.
The event allows people to discuss controversial issues while questioning how media portrays those same topics.
What I'm tired of is the media making us all feel like we're further apart than we really are. I think cable news media and social media makes it seem like we have nothing in common and that we can't have civil discussions about important issues. The fact is we can.
Political fatigue has become a new norm. Radio host Christopher Hahn says he wants to hear straight facts.
What is one thing that you would like the media even to talk about more, especially given a year that we're a year away from the election?
I want the media to talk about facts. I want them to focus on facts. I don't want to focus on the tweet of the day. I don't want to focus on...
But that's what's news now.
Well, I don't want to talk about the outrage of the day either. Like, I'm debating a guy named Michael Knowles tomorrow, and my debate with Michael Knowles here grew out of a debate I had with him about the conservative outrage of the day a couple of weeks ago. And I'm tired of it. I'm tired of the conservative outrage of the day. I'm tired of the liberal outrage of the day. I want to talk about facts that matter to America, and that's got to happen sooner rather than later.
Other recurring words we often hear, Russia, 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 a title of one of the political panels where our very own Scotty Nell Hughes sat in on. Some of the attendees calling it a witch hunt and emotionally draining.
Oh, I think it was all It was a hoax, witch hunt, this presidential harassment thing that he talks about. That's basically true. They've been trying to impeach him from the beginning with Russia, now with Ukraine. But honestly, I think the fix is in. It's all political theater at this point.
I think what happens is things that start as very simple then become very complicated because they don't leave it alone. Like, to me, Russia was really simple, right? They're foreign in our election, and then it got complicated. This guy had money with this guy who had, and then you kind of turn it off.
People seem to want to see more media coverage about serious topics like the state of the global economy.
I want to hear more about the economy. I want to hear more about the how great our economy is. We are living in the best economy of this country right now. I think we got to start talking about it more. I think it's a great thing.
I want to hear more about the national debt. I mean, we had Trump campaigned on he could end the debt in 5 minutes. He said that, and it's just not getting done.
Some want more specific discussions on trade and solutions for America's concerns and things affecting your pocket.
We have so many issues we could work on right now, USMCA being one, another being the Next Step Act, but we can't even get to it because they're too busy holding these committee hearings on something that the polls show that America doesn't want. I'm just sick of it. I want results. I want to be able to where our government leaders can sit in a room and not have temper tantrums, where they not go on media and call each other names.
While others are trying to calm that political divide by encouraging kindness amongst political adversaries, leaving room for kind conversations.
So we're launching a new brand here called Keep It Kind, and we're using this as a platform to try to accomplish our biggest mission, which is to spread kindness, one person, one intentional act at a time, hopefully creating a ripple effect of kindness across the world. Unfortunately, I don't think positive sells viewers, and that's one of the problems, one of the things in politics that you could really differentiate yourself, to me, as a politician, if you could take the high road and implement kindness in your platform. But, it's unfortunate that kindness isn't sexy. We're going to make it sexy. We didn't invent kindness, but we're going to make it famous.
After 2 days here in Politicon, there seems to be a huge disconnect between the people who are still hopeful to find some common ground and the political pundits who are taking the stage, still resorting to insults on both politicians and the people who support them. Reporting in Nashville, Sarah Montes de Oca, RT. And over to Texas now, where a gunman opened fire at an off-campus homecoming party, killing 2 and injuring 14 others. It all happened Saturday evening in the Dallas suburb of Greenville. Authorities believe the shooter may have been targeting just one person at the party and shot others at random. The identified shooter is still at large.
Getting cooperation from the people that were attending the party. They saw nothing. We've not identified anybody that was here at the party that will tell us anything about the shooter.
Well, it didn't end there. The next day, gunfire erupted again at a vigil for one of those 2 victims. Video you are looking at now was recorded by a reporter on site. Multiple gunshots can be heard there. So far, no reports of injuries from this incident. And in Chicago, it appears to be a tentative deal has been reached between the union and public schools. According to the mayor, the Chicago Teachers Union is reviewing the final terms of that deal. However, classes are still canceled today as the strike goes on. A tweet from the Chicago Public Schools states the CTU rejected a nearly $500 million deal, which includes double-digit raises for staff, $110 million to provide a nurse and social workers for every school, and support for high-need schools. The union says it's still short $38 million from reaching a deal that they want. Negotiations are going to resume today. And Amazon CEO Jeff Bezos lost his title as the world's richest man, but just for a few hours. As Amazon stock dropped 7%, Bezos suffered a brief blow to his net worth. He slipped down to a mere $103.9 billion, about $2 billion less than what Microsoft co-founder Bill Gates is worth. Such a bad day to be a billionaire, I guess. However, as markets closed Friday, Forbes reported that Bezos got back on top. He's now worth $109.9 billion. All right, we are going over now to the world of sports with Steve Christakos. Steve, it is looking kind of bad for the Nats right now. What happened?
Yeah, I don't know. Both teams have yet to win a home game. It's pretty wild. And we're in Game 6 now, going into Game 6. But just a few days ago, the Washington Nationals came back to D.C. with hopes of winning their first ever World Series title. Many even thinking they would sweep the Astros. And the Nats' bats cooled off, and the Astros found their fire again, defeating Washington in all 3 home games, outscoring them 19-3. Sunday night in Game 5, Houston jumped on it early with a 2-run homer in the top of the second, courtesy of Yordan Alvarez. Carlos Correa doubled the lead in the 4th with a 2-run bomb deep to left for his 11th career postseason home run. The Nationals struggled after the late scratch of Max Scherzer due to back and neck spasms, instead putting in pitcher Joe Ross, who gave up 4 runs over 5 innings. Meanwhile, pitcher Garrett Cole was lights out for the Astros, looking for redemption after the Game 1 loss. And he sure got it, carrying a 2-hit shutout into the 7th inning before the Nationals finally got on the board, courtesy of a Juan Soto solo home run. Astros added 3 more runs to make it a final of 7-1 and taking the 3-2 series lead heading back home. Game 6 in Houston could be the end of this magical run for Washington with the odds stacked against them, but manager Davey Martinez still believes they can finish the fight.
I think, when in the 9th inning, there was fans screaming behind, and they're with us, One guy was, he said, I can't be there in Houston, but I'll be there watching. He said, you guys can do this. And that's what's good about these fans. They're behind us. And like I said, our guys, hey, look, we had our backs against the wall all year long. And nobody thought we were going to be here. We're here playing Game 6 of the World Series. So we're going to fight. We're going to finish this thing.
And it was the 14th edition of the Red Bull Rampage mountain bike competition, featuring 21 of the best free riders in the world. The cliffs in Virgin, Utah provided a tricky course for a brutal, dusty ride in the desert. And it was the Canadians who stole the show, taking the top 3 spots this year. Reigning champion Brett Reeder took 2nd place with a score of 91, while Thomas van Steenbergen grabbed bronze with an 89.66. But the top spot went to their Canadian compatriot Brandon Semenuk, who wowed the crowd with a brilliant free ride performance here that included an opposite 360 and a backflip, earning him a 92.33 for his 3rd overall title at the event. The victory makes Semenuk just the 2nd rider ever to top the podium 3 times. There were also 4 Americans in the top 10, with Tyler McCall placing highest, coming in 5th. That's some exciting video there, and I know that even though they're wearing helmets, Connor cannot do that sport, extreme mountain biking.
Another sport my kid is not going to be allowed to do, but that first one, baseball. He could do. I mean, I know there's dangers there.
Can be dangerous. I mean, they're throwing 100-mile-per-hour fastballs. Sometimes.
Oh, I know. I mean, people have shattered their faces.
Yeah.
But of all, I mean, there's a little bit of risk driving your car. So,
That's true.
If you're going to play a sport, baseball.
Can't live life in a bubble. But speaking of baseball, I mean, the World Series is heading back to Houston now. If the Nats do pull it out, that means neither of these teams would have won a home game at all the whole series. So
that really sucks for everybody.
Yeah, it does.
But I don't know. I'm gonna say choke.
Yeah, you think the Astros have it?
Yeah, I think so.
6 or 7?
Next game, 6.
Okay. All right.
I think done at 6. All right. That's my prediction. All right, you guys can boo me later. Okay, we will see you back tomorrow starting at noon. Make sure you download the Pluto TV app. We're on channel 279. I'm Manila Chan.
I'm Steve Christakos.
We'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah.
Aeroflot, Russian Airlines.